Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everybody out there in Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and Instagram and LinkedIn land, wherever you might be watching us. This is the Build and Grow with Real Estate Show. My name is Judah Hoover, and that right over there is Mr. Josh Weidman coming to you here on a Monday. We are going to be talking this week about the cycles of real estate. Josh, I had an awesome weekend. My kids and we listed a bunch of books for sale on Amazon.
Oh, wow.
And we did that on Saturday. So these are just a bunch of books that I have. I have bookshelves all over my house, and I'm always reading books and things like that. So I was like, hey, guys, let's list these books. If we sell them for $2 or $3 or whatever, fine. And also, like, we're going to get shipping and handling and stuff. And so I'm thinking, like, we're going to be good. And do you know what? Like, the best possible case scenario happened. I was hoping that we'd be able to sell a book or two. Better than that would have been not sell any books at all, because then we would have been able to learn some lessons, right? Like, I was hoping for a little bit of failure. But you know what, Josh? Something even better than not selling any books happened. You know what happened? We sold books and lost money this week.
That's fantastic.
So, isn't that awesome? So I was like, guys, so we have to take into better consideration what shipping cost is going to be, and not just believe Amazon when they say shipping costs might be XYZ. And we've got to also take into consideration not just shipping costs, but also packing material. And now we also have a better idea of what Amazon's fees that they're going to be deducting are going to be, and blah, 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 on and on and on, all this stuff. So I said, and guys, we lost money selling a free product on Amazon. Can you imagine what would have happened, like, when you want to buy books and resell them, or buy stuff at grocery stores and resell it and do all this other stuff? So anyway, that's that we had entrepreneurship 101 this weekend at the Uber.
Listen, I don't know if you've ever lost money on a real estate deal, but usually I'm guessing that you didn't lose like $25,000 this weekend.
No, we did not. No, I think that we sold one book and we managed to lose like $250 on it.
Exactly.
So,
that is a good price for a good lesson learned. Yeah. My daughter, she likes to sew, so she gets this idea. She's going to make these masks and sell them, right? Well, she's got tons of fabric. Now, when I say tons of fabric, it's tons of fabric if you want to fool around on the weekend and, like, make a dress for a doll or whatever. She starts making these masks and she wants to sell them for $1 a piece. I said, how much do you think the fabric cost? You're making these things for free. We had the same discussion, but anyway.
None of that time is of a consideration too. But I'm very excited. Oh my goodness, John is at Smith's, one of my favorite. There's a great cheesesteak place there. If you are ever in Lancaster County, you have got to go to Smith's, and there is an official meeting of the Judah Hoover Fan Club. That is excellent. So, Josh, what did you do this weekend, and what do we? And let's jump into content then.
Yeah, you know what I've realized about myself? I am not a good person to sleep in. Like, when I sleep in, it screws up my whole schedule.
I thought you were going to say not a good person to sleep with, and I was going to say, Josh, this is a family show, buddy. This is a family show. We're not having those conversations.
Nah, man. When I sleep in, I am like a bear waking up in the morning. It's like too much sleep. If I get 8 hours of sleep, you might as well let me sleep till the next day. You know what I mean? Yeah, like 6 hours.
8 hours is too much for you. Is that what you're saying?
Way too much. Like 6 is my perfect amount of sleep, and it's kind of weird because I've been waking up at like 5:30 to go to the gym in the morning, and I sleep till 7:30, and all of a sudden I wake up and I'm dazed. It's no fun. Anyway, enough of my personal life and crazy quirks. I mean, today we got some really good content. Like, this is some like deep level stuff that I'm sure somebody told me about this, but I wish I would have paid attention when I first got started in real estate, because it's like an instruction manual on when to do different types of investing, you know, whether you're looking at buying rental properties or buying flips or, you know, or just wholesaling and staying the heck out of the market. It's really interesting to analyze cycles because frankly, like the same thing happens over and over and over again, you know,
Right.
over and over and over. And we've
Kind of
got
like
some.
the past can help us predict the future.
No, there's nothing. Yeah. What's that saying? There's nothing new under the sun.
Right. History doesn't repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme. So let's so bring up our first
Right.
slide there, my friend, because
I'm just going to skip over this because this whole week we're going to talk about this. Today,
right,
we're going to look at each of the 6 phases, kind of
at a
look at
macro level, and then we're going to dive down into talking a little bit more about each individual.
yeah,
So here's why I think that this is so important. Right here, when we're on this first stage, when we're look at this cycle. Now, I learned about this at about a similar time as where we are in the marketplace right now, hot market time. And what came after that is I got involved in real estate in like 2001, 2002, 2003. I'm really picking up steam. And the whole way through the run up. And then in about 2006 and 2007, I learned about market cycles. And when the market starts to go haywire in 2008, the end of 2008, and really just crashes in 2009 and 10, I was able to have a whole lot more confidence and not panic because now don't get me wrong, I still, the lessons I learned this weekend were small compared to the lessons I was learning during that time. But I didn't get out of real estate. I didn't flee real estate. I actually wish I would have bought more at that time and been more active in that time.
yeah,
So learn about market cycles so that you don't panic while you're experiencing them, not so that you can prevent them from happening or anything like that. Also, you learn about market cycles so that during bad times, you know to actually invest. And during good times, you still, when everything is going great in a market cycle, I'm still thinking to myself, how much of this is me and my skill and my talent, and how much of it is just the market?
yep,
Because the Bible says, the good book says, love covers a multitude of sins. Well, a good market appreciation cycle can cover a multitude of mistakes.
that's
And there's a
exactly.
lot of people who are making mistakes right now that they do not know they're making, and they're not going to find out until we go through some market cycles. So it's important to understand. But here's the best thing about market cycles. One market cycle, what causes one market cycle stage is what leads to the causes of the next. And you can start to see the shift when it happens. So let's go ahead, Josh.
Real quick, I want to add
Yeah.
one more point of context. So I got started right at the end of the top last time around in 2006. And when things started going bad, I was so upset. I'm like, man, there's people buying a house, holding it for 6 months with no renovation and making $50,000 when they sell it. I mean,
Right.
that's real world stuff that happened. I can't believe I missed it. And I can remember talking to a guy who had been in the business for 20 years. He'd been flipping houses, and he's like, don't worry about it. This is going to happen again. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, oh, I can't believe this. Well, because I was so upset about it, I missed out on a ton of buying opportunities that, in retrospect, like I didn't know that we hit the bottom until it was well past. And I'm going, doggone it, I wish I would have seen that.
Right.
So this is our effort to make sure that you don't feel that way next time this comes around. All right. So, all right, we're going to start with early downturn. You can think about this as the top of the market, right? It's
just
the top.
just past peak.
Exactly. Now, forces that drive the market, they begin to fall. What are some forces right now that are driving the market? We had pent-up demand. We have low inventory. We've got, third party external intervention, right? That had pushed the market forward. Very low interest rates, all that kind of stuff. What's really interesting about this is that at this point in the market, you've got really high tenant occupancy, which doesn't seem to be, That doesn't seem necessarily to go hand in hand, but I guess it makes sense if you've got high values and people can't afford those values, they're going to rent, right?
Right.
Yeah. With
You're
that,
also you're also going to start to see that occupancy just slowly starting to turn. And here's the funny thing about all of these. There's two: early downturn and early recovery are the two that take experience and a lack of emotion
mhm.
to be able to understand, and you've got to be brutally honest with yourself. I lost money on a deal last time during early downturn. I mean, I should have listed it for like 125, but I listed it for 145 because I just didn't want to believe that the market had softened a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're going to see things that, like, instead of being able to fill a vacancy in the middle of summertime in a week or 2 weeks, it's going to take 3 or 4 weeks. Not awful, but you're going to say, well, it was just that block, or well, it was just because of COVID, or well, it was just because of. So there's going to be certain softening things you're going to see, and I'm not saying we're seeing those right now, but I'm saying
Yeah.
that when you see those softening things, don't lie to yourself.
Well, and this is also the time that if you are looking to fill a vacancy in November, December, January, February, you ought to consider maybe a 14 or an 18-month lease so that you can extend, knowing that next time you want to lease, you want to be in the height of the leasing time frame, right? You don't want to lease in the middle of winter. And in a hot market, it doesn't matter. In the
Right.
hottest market, we have the most competition. It doesn't matter. But if you are, if we're in an early downturn or an early uptake, we want to take a look at that. The other thing to look at here is think about characteristics as your data points, right? Track the data, and then you can push the emotions all the way out. If you
Right.
see occupancy is really high, that's one check. Rent growth is flat, which means rental rates are just kind of staying. Okay.
You can't raise rents every year like you have been for the past several years.
Right. Your net operating income on your rental properties, it's starting to decline. You know why? That's because prices are going up and rents are going flat. It hasn't crashed, but it's starting to level out and starting to decline.
Also, taxes are a lagging indicator. So you're going to see, in the trough of the market, you're going to see taxes will have been coming down at relative to values and things like that. But at the peak of the market, the municipalities are still raising the millage rate or raising the assessment value and things like that. So you're going to see your NOI is going to go down because your rent is stable, but your taxes and things like that are still going up.
You've got prices falling. You've got credit beginning to tighten up, and we have not seen that yet. So we're not here, right? But
Right.
This is part of the cycle. You have no new construction inventory beginning to hit the market. Contractors and builders, they've seen this coming. They start hitting, they see a demand for housing pricing going up. They start pumping out new construction. It's begun to hit the market. And then landlords are going to begin offering concessions and incentives for good tenants.
If you see a bunch of stuff, hold on, go back to that. So if you see a bunch of stuff,
first month free,
such as first month's free, first month's half off, that type of thing. New construction inventory entering the market. Typically, what would have happened is builders would have only built to spec, and they would only build, or there wouldn't be a whole lot of speculative buying. But as the market slows down its buying appetite, and it's what's called the absorption rate, the builders are going to say, well, okay, well, it's slowed down a little bit here, but I still want to keep my guys busy. I've still got money in the bank. I've still got the ability to borrow. So I am going to continue building and putting inventory out there and putting it on the market. And that oversupply is actually what then leads to the downturn.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so now we have full downturn. And this is the time when the correction is underway. Like, right? Everybody knows it's happening. We see demand has fallen drastically. This is a time when your inventory is going to outpace your demand, right? Houses are going to sit on the market longer. Right now, if you have a nice house and it sits on the market for 30 days, it's way overpriced,
Right.
right? During this time frame, you definitely want to price your houses below market value to get the most amount of eyeballs on them and get it going. This is also a time, Judy, you mentioned like you had a house that you thought could sell for 145, so you list it for that, but the real price was 125.
Right.
By the time you adjusted the price, what was it? What did it sell for?
Oh yeah, then it was down to like, one
115.
115, 118, and I'm like, geez, what am I doing here? I gotta
Exactly.
keep on dropping this price, and eventually I just decided to turn
Yep.
it into a rental.
There we go. You've got vacancy rates are increasing, sales volume is decreasing with prices falling, cap rates are start to go up because now you've got level or slightly declining rental rates, but you also have declining prices. Your returns are going to go up. Credit is getting a lot more expensive and it's starting to dry up. This is a problem, and unfortunately, this is what happens. Prices go down and the cost of money goes up. It sounds kind of crazy, but that's typically what happens. The banks, they inversely follow the market. they pump out cash when when the most risk is out there, but whatever. You start seeing foreclosures increasing. This is that time of the market. And now you start seeing that new construction that was hitting the market in the early downturn. If it's not selling, you start seeing builders cutting the cost of their product. You see some of these developers going out of business, declaring bankruptcy because they've got these houses that are built and sitting and not moving. Several years ago, actually during 2008, my sister and her husband bought a house in Chambersburg, right? New construction property. And they had the rest of this development planned for the next 2 years. They bought their house and then the market tanks. Ryan Holmes left acres and acres and acres of undeveloped land because they knew, like, they were probably tracking and they said, oh, it's not time to build right now. We're going to get ourselves in a bad position. That's the kind of thing you start seeing. They'll pull out of an area and stop development.
Right. You'll see land banks start to show up at this point where companies are formed specifically to buy up these properties and then just hold them and wait and then sell them. So they'll buy development land from builders that maybe is already specced out or maybe already improved. And by improved, I don't mean the building. I mean improved like, water sewer run and electric run, or maybe even road beds or things like that. They'll buy up these lots and then sit on them. They'll buy them for $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 and sit on them. And a couple of years later, sell them for $15,000 to $20,000. And what's great about buying a lot like that is not much goes wrong with dirt.
Right. But finding the financing for that can be difficult. So,
sure.
I mean,
it's a speculative play. And usually you only see land banks in the suburbs of, primary or secondary markets. Central Pennsylvania, you'll see a couple of them popping up here or there, and the public doesn't usually know about them. But I know people bought and sold from or to them.
So the one thing to keep in mind here. All right, so we've got full downturn. Everybody knows it's happening. You got prices going down. A lot of the question here is, how long does this last? Because everyone wants to buy at the bottom, and a lot of times people watching this happen, they'll have they'll have their ducks in a row. They're ready to jump in the market, but they're waiting for this bottom. And the answer really is that this downturn, this crash, it's gonna last about it's gonna last longer if the height of the market was higher. Depending on how big the bubble is, it's going to take much longer to correct itself. So you think of 2008, that took about 3 years. From 2007 to 2010, the market was just going down, 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 down. And then in 2010, we finally hit the bottom where everybody kind of looked around and nobody had any equity in their homes anymore. And it was a mess. So Chris just jumped in. He said, prices don't seem to be going down in Berks. And
Yeah, no, we're not in a market. We are for those of you that are just joining us, we are doing a market overview of which each market phase we're in right now, or which market phases exist, the six market phases. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the characteristics of the market phase we're in right now, and then
right.
Wednesday we're going to talk about what's coming next and how to prepare for it.
That's right. So as the prices drop, as we're going through this downturn, the next step obviously is the bottom, right? The bottom of the market. And here's a key factor in this. You only know you hit the bottom 3 to 6 months later.
Right.
Right? Vacancies reach their highest point, rents are the lowest, prices reach their bottom, cap rates reach the top, right? Asset prices are well below replacement cost. So this is something to really consider here. And it doesn't happen very often. As building codes have changed, and especially in urban markets where the red tape is a lot more involved than in some of the suburban and urban markets. But I mean, when you have replacement costs that are $100 or $200 a square foot, that's a big property value. That's an expensive home for a 2 or 3,000 square foot house. But when asset prices dip below, say $100 a square foot or $75 a square foot, where they're below the replacement cost, we're getting towards the bottom.
The other thing that's a characteristic of the bottom is building really dries up. So you're looking at new home permits, new home starts, new home completions, and those indicators, because what leads to the crash is an oversupply of houses because we built too many houses. During the downturn, during the market fall, during the correction, and during the bottom, building has by and large dried up. There's not a whole lot of building going on. Well, guess what happens? Houses are still going to burn down and not be replaced. Jobs are still going to be coming to your area, and therefore people are going to be coming to your area, and people are going to need a place to live. The population is still going to increase. So all of these things are going to eat up the existing supply that's on the market and then create demand. And it's that building that led to the overvaluation of real estate and the oversupply that caused the downturn. But then it's the stopping of building that is going to create the uptick in real estate. And that's what comes next, is the early recovery. Now, here's what I want everyone to know and understand. When I saw the market in 2013, 14, 15, and people were saying to me, Judah, you think we can buy property at a discount here in central Pennsylvania? Let's go to Florida. We can really buy property at a discount there. And I said, maybe not. I said, it might be the right time to buy, but I said, what you have to remember is we're at the bottom of the trough right now. I don't like to buy until I see this happen. I don't like to buy until I see a slight uptick start to happen. That was, for me.
I'm disagreeing with you on that one.
In Florida, like if you're going to go to a foreign market to do something different, like do deals around here, because who knows, Florida could be. And I said, here's the deal: people always flock back to the water. People always go back to the water. And I'm telling you, there's always a time you can and should be doing real estate in every market. But when you're at the bottom, especially a national bottom, just do deals in your backyard.
Yeah, and frankly, Florida is one of the most volatile markets in the country.
Sure.
I mean, it spikes and dips all over the place. So, once we get the bottom, I love this spot of the market to buy like crazy, because on a long time frame, if you're looking at a 10-year cycle, typically right now we're at 13, 14 years. So it's a little bit longer, but typically you're looking at about a 10-year cycle. If you're buying at the bottom and you want cash flow properties, you can get solid B grade properties at that 1% or even below that 1%, when you get close to the bottom, because you got to consider that values are going to rise, but your cost is not going to go up. And rents absolutely will rise once you get off the bottom, right? So then from here, we're going to go to an early recovery. Now, the early recovery, this is when things start to pick up. And during this phase is when we typically realize that, oh, we hit the bottom 3 months ago or 6 months ago, right?
Here also is going to be a time when naysayers say, "Oh, Josh just got lucky flipping that house,"
right?
Or, "Oh, Josh just got lucky renting that house out for $1,000. It really should be 900, but he got lucky."
Yeah.
So again, you don't want to lie to yourself early and think that just because you got a little bit above market or a little bit above where things were, that you don't want to give yourself false hope and believe you're in a recovery when you're not. But you also don't want to miss an early recovery, because
That's right.
even though you should buy during the bottom, you should beg, borrow, and steal and buy with both hands during an early recovery.
And this is also the phase when, looking at the numbers, if you're looking at data points and instead of looking at everybody's opinion of what's happening and you're getting your emotions involved, this is easily identifiable because you still have prices that are below replacement cost. They're still low. Rents have stabilized. You've got occupancy that is still low. So it doesn't look a ton different than the bottom. But what you start seeing is, you start seeing a better return. You start hearing word about, oh, this company just added 1,200 new jobs. This one added 10,000. They're opening a new distribution center over here. A new factory's opening up. Small rumors, but what you're looking for is everybody acknowledges that the bottom has passed, or at least we've hit a bottom. We're there, whatever. But nobody really knows how long is it going to take to recover. When you, like Judah said, people are uncertain about, hey, what's going to happen next? Is this, are we going to see the type of prices we saw 5 years ago? Is
Right.
the market going to recover? Should I buy this property? Is it going to be a good enough deal? This is a great.
We saw this in the area around 2013, 2014. This is when we started to enter that early recovery phase.
There was a humongous transfer of wealth during this time, or a building of wealth, and people that started flipping houses and built businesses around that some of the best flippers I know, they haven't flipped anything for 2 years because they've been concerned about a downturn. In these markets, they were making $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 on a deal because you had buyers that were looking for a really good product, and not many people were in the market providing that. And so they were getting good returns. There's very little competition on the low end of the market. And, with those type of returns, or with that type of risk, they got the good returns. So now we go into early stable. At this point, we're gathering recovery.
2016, 2017 is when we saw this. 16, 17.
Yeah, rents are increasing in like those C+ neighborhoods. I don't know if Judah, if you saw this, but during this time frame, I had a property management company, and like nationwide, they were talking about rents going up. And then it was probably late 2014, early 2015 until we saw in our types of markets, it was like C+, B- neighborhoods, where they finally caught up with what was happening at the higher ends of the market. So you've got rents that are increasing, vacancy rates are low, growing return on investment, increasing prices that they're at or slightly above replacement costs. This is a big indicator. Newer investors start talking about getting into the market. Now, we're not talking about a wave of new investors or anything like that, but you got, Judas is successful at life. He never flipped the property before, but he's been saving his money. He's got $100,000. He decides he's going to go in and flip a house. That's great.
Here's one of the other ways that you recognize that is the Than Merrills of the world. You know what I mean? And there's a bunch of others out there like it, will have gone away for 2 or 3 or 4 years.
Gone.
And then you're going to start hearing, usually on talk AM radio, the seminar guys start up the cycle again. They start coming out. They start, they start advertising on the radio saying, I'm going to be in your town for one day and one day only. And what's so great about Lancaster, like they always pronounce your town wrong, is it's a perfect market for my system. When you start to hear those ads on the radio, you know that we're in that early stable market again.
Right. And now we go to late stable. Late stable cracks me up because there's a guru on every single ad you turn around. Everybody, the guy who flipped one house and wholesaled one house is all of a sudden selling courses,
Well, real estate's been great for the last 7 years. Why not? It's been it's been riding up, and things have been getting better and better, and everything's fine. Everything's good.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So now we're going to see prices exceeding any reasonable valuation. This is, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but this seems a lot like what we're seeing now. Rents are increasing at and above peak levels. You have near 100% occupancy, almost no vacancies. No landlords giving any concessions on the rents. There's no incentivizing longer terms and things like that.
It's harder to do subject to deals. It's harder to do seller financing. It's harder to do creative financing deals during this time. I got my start during a late stable market cycle and the beginning of a late stable, maybe just the very end of stabilizing market. And the point is I was super young, didn't have any credit established yet, looked super young, didn't have any money, and it was hard for me. And I was looking to do creative financing deals, and cash was king, but I didn't have any cash or have any richer relatives or anything like that. So I feel bad for people who real estate is exploding around them and they need to be doing deals based on creative financing techniques, and they just can't because they don't have the ability to.
Yeah. So, you've got no concessions for tenants. We talked about this, but it's where we are. You got, stories about getting rich in real estate starting to show up all over the place, like in newspapers. And, the guy who never bought a piece of real estate before and stumbled on this great way to make money in real estate. And all of a sudden he's making $1 million a year. You look at,
Taz, we did touch on it briefly, but tomorrow we're going to wrap up the show here for today. Tomorrow we are going to do a deep dive into the market cycle that we believe that we are in right now, and talk about why we believe that we are in that market cycle, and get more into the characteristics and just talk more about market cycles, what drives them, how they come about, and things like that.
Yeah. So look, if you guys are looking to fund a real estate project, give me a call. My name is Josh Weidman. I'm a hard money lender with Hard Money Bankers. We fund projects in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, Northern Virginia, and DC. If we are a direct lender, which means that we can we can underwrite your deal and get you approved on the same day you contact us, fund within 24 hours or 2 weeks if that's what your timeline looks like. Judah, tell us a little bit about you, and then let's.
Judah Hoover with Slate House Group. We are a modern real estate company, and here is a funny thing. I actually have 2 clients right now that are themselves or their spouses are realtors, and the reason they're calling me and the reason they're moving forward with me is they understand it is better to have somebody else negotiate deals for you when it's your own personal deal. So if you're looking to list your own personal house, or you're looking to buy something for yourself, and you're a real estate agent, you want somebody that you know, like, and trust, and actually knows what's going on. And I'm working. I've got a couple other realtors that I've worked with in the past and going to in the future. I'm actually thinking about getting cards printed up that says the realtor on them. So don't hesitate to give me a call. We'll keep everything confidential, but I would love to be your real estate agent, even if you are a realtor yourself.
Yeah. All right. So we'll be right back here tomorrow at noon. Thanks for joining us today. You guys have a fantastic day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.
See you, everybody.